presented by Dano's Seasoning. Yum yum, get you some.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Sun Belt Syndicate. Oh, what does that say?
Stay fly.
Nice. I thought that's
Yes,
what it
sir.
said, but I wanted to make sure. Santa and is it Rudolph or is it just a random reindeer that's leading the way?
You know what? It's just a random reindeer, but he has shades on. He has shades
Oh,
on.
nice.
So he's a cool reindeer. In case you didn't realize.
Cooler than your average reindeer.
Yeah, I changed shirts about 30 minutes ago. My wife was like, "You're really proud of that shirt, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am. I like it a lot."
You got to be, man. That's what's fun about wearing the T-shirts, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sadly, we can't wear any of our. Well, we can and we will, but typically not as much fun when we can't wear our Barosov shirts or something like that on this show right now because we don't have a team playing right now. But
that is true. I thought about that and I was like, nope, not going to do it. They don't deserve it.
Yeah, I thought about the same thing with the hat. At least, like, all right, yeah. It's like, no, it's just an invite for trash talk that you don't want.
Exactly. I don't want unnecessary trash talk.
No.
Although I do enjoy it.
It is fun. It is a good time. We had Riley already saying some about our most hated team here, Liberty Bibberty. Ben James jumping in saying, "What's up, everybody?" Yeah, his team's bowl game coming up here somewhat shortly. They're not going to be previewed tonight. As we said, we're trying to break these down smaller so it's easier to digest and not as much craziness by the time we get to that game. Because if we previewed everything now, as TJ and I have been seeing, the portal changes things. Guys opt out, guys declared for the NFL draft. There's too many things that can go wrong if we do it like we did last year, which was previewing all of them like 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time. And whatever. It was still fun, and we could still do it that way.
Yeah. It was a 2.5 hour show, which was great. But the issue was we were wrong on a lot of those because half of it we talked about jumped in the portal. So yeah, definitely didn't go the way we thought on some of those.
Even though I would have thought that I would have, still picked JMU, even if you told me a bunch of their players had gone into the portal, because some of them went into the portal but still played.
Yep.
I would have still favored them over Air Force because I'm thinking, man, Air Force, not a quick strike, whatever. And then we saw what happened there. So kind of insane. Looks like was JMU just added a field goal to make it 27-17 live in this one.
Sir. I tell you what. Their third string, I guess he's the third string quarterback, Atkins, what's his name?
Yeah, I think you're right, Atkins.
He is really good. I mean, he's got great. I've been watching him technique-wise the whole game, and he's got great footwork. I mean, he zips the ball out of his hand, like it doesn't sit long. And he made a throw from the hash, from one opposite hash all the way to the other sideline. Just a quick out route. Wasn't anything to write home about, but the release point and how far the ball traveled was very, very impressive.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't been disappointed with those guys at all. I did question the double quarterback move that, we'd seen Marshall employ and numerous other teams throughout the past kind of go from 2 to 1 until you say you found your guy. More understandable in this situation now with the transfer portal and guys being injured. Obviously, Barnett injured. We did not know that going into last week when we did preview the JMU game. So we were talking about him going. We knew he had taken a bump at the very end of that Marshall game, but it didn't look bad enough for me to think he'd be on crutches tonight and not playing. I thought it was going to be one of those scenarios. He's maybe not at 100%, but he's certainly going to play in the bowl game. Obviously, that is not the case, and we see the double-headed monster of Billy Atkins, and J.C. Evans is the guy who's kind of been running the ball more in that one. We haven't even touched on the sponsors. So real quick, thanks to W Energy, Fanplex Graphics, TSN Off-Road, and Dano's Seasoning for continuing to sponsor the show. Affiliate links down below. It's Christmas time. You don't have anything on your list. Look, most of those things are easy to get and readily available for the person in your life who may find them interesting or appreciated. So, yeah, jump on some of those links and hit them up. Probably do that now because you're going to get strapped for time if the shipping becomes an option. But yeah,
package at our door every day since Tuesday of last week.
Yeah, I think we're similar in that regard. Yes,
and I never know what it is.
Yeah, right. same. I'm like, I'm not even going to ask what it is. I'll just put it over there.
Yeah, my wife just does it, and I'm like, sure, that's
exactly.
Cool. She opened up one of the packages the other day. She was like, "You got this for Brody," and I was like, "Oh, great, cool."
You mean Santa?
Yeah, exactly.
Is he at the age now, or is he not?
No. We still very much believe in Santa in this house, but he does realize that mom and dad gets gifts, and also Santa gets gifts. So he gets like 2 separate gifts.
That's how we do it too. That's exactly what we do.
So that when she said, she was like, "Hey, you brought him," it's some kind of football thermos or something. She was like, "Hey, you brought him this," and I was like, "Okay, that
very
all
nice."
Right." I was like, "Where'd you get it?" She was like, "Amazon." Okay, cool. Yeah. So the perks of having a joint account.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Ben says be a good one when Southern Miss comes to town in Jonesboro next year, because the return of Blake Anderson will be happening, as he touched on just a minute ago with another comment. So, yeah, it's interesting to see him back in the Sun Belt at all, with all the just transgressions and everything that happened over there at Utah State. Not the prettiest of exits, but we'll touch on the JMU game. It looks like just over a minute left in that one. I've got it over to the side here, but we will jump first into, well, the main show graphic, of course. We are going to be previewing the Georgia Southern matchup against Sam Houston State, and also the Coastal Carolina matchup against UTSA, specifically in this episode. But as per usual, we kind of cover what happened the last time out too. And it's been a couple days, but we do have to give some props and some credit to South Alabama for getting the bowl victory over the Western Michigan Broncos. I think that's Broncos, right? I know that. I know the logo is that. I just couldn't remember if that.
Yeah, I had to look it up too. It's Broncos.
Yeah, it's like a horse. I'm like, is it pretty obvious it's a Bronco, right? But sometimes you don't really know.
Could be a Trojan, could be a whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this one is one I know I for sure thought South Alabama would win very comfortably. I think you were closer to that, but maybe at least thinking they were going to win. I thought they would cover the spread. I'm pretty sure you agreed with that part at least, right?
Yeah, we were both wrong about the spread being covered. I thought it was going to be. I thought they would win by 10. I think you said like 14 or more. But either way, we were both wrong. And then obviously the spread or the total points was wrong as well. But a win is a win, and we'll take it in the Sun Belt.
Exactly. We had Davenport go in place of Gio Lopez, which was a little bit of a surprise to us. Mm-hmm. I still thought the prediction that we had said would be valid. We'd seen Davenport come in relief and look pretty good. Obviously not the same as Gio Lopez, but he's got a lot of the same attributes as far as being very mobile, throwing on the run, being pretty electric too at times. What he had, a 50-yard run for a touchdown at one point in that game, I think is what
he did.
Yeah. And, they didn't have Fluff Bothwell. We already knew that well before this game started, but they did have Kentrell Bullock. Sorry, tripped all over that name. But he was very, very good as well, running back wise. So even with the starters not participating in this bowl game for 2 different reasons, one injury and one transfer portal, I still thought they performed fairly well. They could have easily covered that point spread too, TJ, right?
I was going to say they let up.
Yeah, let up, and the kicker missed a couple. I think he missed 1 extra point and a field goal at least. I'm gonna check the box score on that, because I think that's fairly accurate, if not 2 missed field goals. Let's see what he had here. Oh, he was one. Okay, one guy kicked a field goal. The other kicker missed the field goal. That's what it was. So they could have won this game with the point spread being covered. Unfortunately, they did not. But again, the victory is the most important thing, especially with all the changes and differences on the transfer portal and injury aspect. Is there any last words that we need to touch on this one?
No, it's hard this time of year, right? I mean, it's one of those things where, when you've got schools like this in schools like JMU, who we're watching right now, with so many big guys in the transfer portal, coaches leaving, those kinds of things, it's hard, right? Because, you want quality football, and you don't always get what you want, but, you also take a win when a win is available. I thought South Alabama did an excellent job of exploiting the run game. They did great on defense, not as good as we've seen them do in the past, but that, again, is due to a lot of traffic and movement via the portal and that kind of thing. So, we are going to see a lot of this, right, in terms of guys opting out or choosing not to play or transferring altogether. And it's unfortunate for fans like you and I. We want to see those kinds of guys play. We want to see these teams do well, especially in the Sun Belt Conference. But part of that too is we know what comes with the territory in the transfer portal, and we're a fan of it. However, we've voiced our gripes about the limitations that should be placed on it anyway. So I say all that to say, while we will be talking about football, we understand that what we want to get is not always what we will get.
Absolutely correct in that. No doubt about it. We have Warren saying congratulations to JMU, and I will get this back up on the screen now because I had to adjust the graphic because it went final, and I had 24-17 because that was what it was when we started up the stream, and I was saying, hey, if it doesn't change, I'm already ready to roll. So it did change. Luckily, they added another field goal to make it 27-17 victory, covering the 8-point spread, but they did not hit that 52.5 over-under mark. CJ's also celebrating as a big Dukes fan, so JMU dub there for CJ Orndorff up in Dukes country. They got the victory over the Hilltoppers. I didn't change the records on this one, though. I will say that.
That's okay. I think we all
just realized I missed out on that. But, yeah, I mean, again, we already kind of touched on it, but pretty good performances from the double quarterback running tandem that they kind of had today. I guess really Atkins didn't really run much at all, but certainly CJ Evans did hit his part, 64 yards on the ground with the 1 touchdown. Atkins throws for 181, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. I don't think JMU didn't have a fumble, did they?
No, but Western Kentucky had 2. And JMU capitalized on both plus an interception. I think it was an interception first half. And I said it earlier, Atkins played a whale of a football game. I mean, his ability to throw the ball. I think whether he plays at JMU next year or not, I think he is going to be a hell of a football player. I mean, he is really good at quarterback. He can throw the ball. He's got great footwork. I've seen him drop back. I mean, you can watch his feet. I mean, they did a slow-mo on him and his feet on his drop back. No wasted motions. High elbow, ball tucked and secure. I really like this guy. He's got a lot to offer. Yeah,
certainly in the same kind of breath as Barnett as far as overall, maneuverability, if you want to say that. Maybe even like you said, with the mechanics, maybe even a little.
I was going to say I didn't want to throw it out there because I didn't want to be disrespectful to Barnett, but I think mechanically he might be a little better in terms of just the fundamentals. Talent-wise, obviously he's not there yet. He's very young, and he'll get to that point. But mechanically, he's pretty darn good.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Warren saying edge was the difference. Defensively, when you have a guy named Eric O'Neill coming at you, guy is a monster. Mans, as we just saw there at the end, he sacks, tackle almost 2 tackles for loss. But yeah, I mean they just were all over the field defensively in that second half. The first half a little sloppy. I will say this, having seen them play and what they did against UNC, they scored 70 points. I'm not talking about the point total. I'm talking about the way that Chesney was aggressive in that game, the way he called plays, what he called, when he called. That really wasn't so evident tonight. They did have, like a double reverse pass, which actually didn't go for a first down because of questionable pass interference on the tight end Thompson, who had a hell of a grab for a touchdown later on. But I was a little disappointed, but maybe at the same time, again, unfortunately, we have to keep saying it, the portal being an aspect of what we're seeing. Right. You hate to say the words dumb down because that you make it sound like the players can't get it. Sure. That's not what I'm saying, but you dumb down the playbook as far as just make it simple and something that's effective short term, right?
What you do is no different than when I play ball and we had, backup quarterbacks or backup running backs and receivers. You call route concepts that are easy to follow, things that you traditionally do, right? Like you're not going to put in any kind of trick plays or any sort of complexities to your route calling or to your offense altogether, just because you don't have your guys in, right? And you don't know, and these aren't guys that while you've seen them practice all year, you don't know how they're going to perform in live action. And so what you don't want to do is put yourself in a position where you put those guys in a position to fail. So you want to keep the game as vanilla, so to speak, as possible, and give them every opportunity to make plays within the fundamentals of the offense. And so I thought that they did that, especially on defense. I mean, they held them to 16 total rushing yards. That's insanity.
Yeah.
That is crazy. 16 total rushing yards is what JMU held them to defensively. And we know that, Western Kentucky doesn't run the ball great to begin with. But 16 yards for 4 quarters, that's pretty awesome. So hats off to JMU.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. And I wanted to touch on this. CJ says first bowl victory ever. Right. Last year, they got the one with the waiver, played Air Force, did not go well. A little different situation. They had short-term coaches, interim coaches, players out of the portal, players that were in the portal but somehow played. And, anyway, it's just a lot off the field going on. Obviously, did not do them any favors there against Air Force. We got our resident Rumble fan joining us, and I want to share his comment because appreciate it and like the fact that they keep coming back. I only watch this to see news on this stuff. He used to only watch the final scores a few times a year and nothing else until I found this here on Rumble a few weeks ago. So
awesome.
We appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. Especially this time of year. We haven't earned any money doing this yet. It's literally for the love of what we do. We've had a lot of fun with it. Having this, running this, being, where someone can go check and see if you really cover this stuff every week and talk about all these other things. It helped me get to my first and only NCAA championship just this past weekend as the Marshall Thundering Herd made it to Cary, North Carolina for soccer. Obviously getting off topic, but do want to, send a shout out to everybody who's allowed us to continue to do this and shows up and makes this fun, interesting, and a good time. So thank you guys for continuing to show up, especially again, this time of year. We really, really appreciate it. And, I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. What about you, TJ?
I'm right there with you. Everywhere you go, I'm right in the passenger seat anyway. I'll let you drive the car, and I'll ad lib as we go. How about that?
There we go. That's good. That's good. I'm taking everything you're giving me because, like I said many times, you have played this sport. You have done this for real at literally the highest level, going to a couple pro teams and playing there for a little bit of time. So, yeah, this is fun, and I'm glad I get to do it with somebody who I've become a better friend with as well. So it makes it even better that way for that reason too.
100%.
Yeah. So let's get into the reasons that we're here for this week's episode, specifically covering these past 2 games. And obviously that JMU one that literally just went final a couple minutes ago, but we do have another one again, right away tomorrow night, ESPN2, 7 PM Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. This is the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've heard that this is the first New Orleans Bowl for Georgia Southern. So this one's one that I think their fan base is going to be up for. And TJ, I'm almost 100% positive you did not play there as a player. Have you been to the New Orleans Bowl for anything?
I have not, but I heard it was a great time.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard the same thing. I never got down there. I think App's been in one of them.
I think 2.
It was it 2?
Yeah, we RLK. Yeah, New Orleans Bowl twice. Okay, and then it was what? I've got to go back and look them up now.
I know the first ever one was the Camellia Bowl against Ohio.
Camellia Bowl was like 3 times, I think.
Yeah, that's true. That might have been a while ago. Oh, okay, here we go. Carlton. Second New Orleans Bowl, beat La Tech a few years ago, 38-3. Okay, jeez, so they did go to another one, but yeah, I mean that's one they haven't gone to in a little while. Then, but obviously, New Orleans. Why wouldn't you want to go at this time of year down to New Orleans and get a little bit warmer than where you're at?
So App State has played in Camellia Bowl twice, 2015, 2016, Dollar General Bowl 2017, New Orleans Bowl 2018 and 2019, Myrtle Beach Bowl in 2021 was Boca Raton, which we just saw, and then 23 was Cure Bowl.
Gotcha. Very nice. Warren says Troy's been there twice. Yeah, I mean, I guess this one for the stadium for sure, it's the number one bowl to be at. It's inside. Yeah. You know, even if the weather's crappy outside, you're going to a game inside and you can be comfortable and have a great time.
100%.
I would say maybe destination-wise, you put this up against the Cure Bowl for the top bowl for the Sun Belt, unless you get like a random one against a power conference opponent somewhere else, maybe.
Right.
Because the Cure Bowl puts you down in was it Tampa? Orlando, Florida.
Orlando, yeah.
You know, Christmas time, family getting to go on a vacation down there.
What stadium is that in Orlando?
I think it's like the Camping World one or something. I will tell you this. If it is the Camping World Stadium, it's not in a nice part of town of Orlando. Not that it's like way out somewhere else, but it's not surrounded by all the cool, fun stuff where you could just like park at the game and then walk around all over town. Like that's not the portion of Orlando this game is at. But yeah.
Let's see.
We'll have to.
Yeah, Camping World Stadium.
Okay. Yeah, also it could have changed names by the last time I was down there, but
Orlando, yeah. It looks good. Oh, that's the UCF.
Well, UCF doesn't play there for home games, do they?
The picture that I'm looking at shows.
Oh, I did not know. I thought they played at like the bounce house or something. Maybe it is that, and they just call it something different. I'm not as familiar with UCF, but I thought they had a.
So actually, the Cure Bowl, for our knowledge, has been hosted at 3 different stadiums: Camping World Stadium, FBC Mortgage Stadium, and Exploria Stadium. Previously hosted the Cure Bowl. So
interesting.
It's been in 3 different stadiums, all of which are in Florida.
Nice. Well, that part makes sense. But yeah, nice. The New Orleans is the headquarters for the Sun Belt. Absolutely. I think that's one reason we've talked in the past about having basketball and/or baseball hosts, you know, the tournaments down that way. But I don't know. You want to spread it out too. You don't want everything in New Orleans all the time. Then people don't come and don't get excited for it. But okay. So this year, the Cure Bowl is actually being played in the Orlando soccer team stadium. See, this is why we do this. We can get fact checked by fans as we are live, because then we would have messed this up. Named Inter & Co. Stadium now. Interesting.
Nice.
I will tell you this. Obviously, I don't know the football setup at that stadium, but soccer stadiums are going to have great grass. It's natural grass. It's not field turf. At least to my knowledge, I don't think Orlando is. But the stadium that they have there is phenomenal, like very new, and it's got some really cool portions and some aspects to it. It's smaller than your typical football stadium, but definitely if you're going, you're going to have a good time in that stadium. And they got a nice little setup there for sure in Orlando. Sunbelt could apply to be part of the Power 5. Yeah. We'd love it. I know for baseball, they could be part of a power conference.
That is a fact.
Football's got a little work to do. We had close teams this year.
Just got to get bigger in the trenches. That's all.
Yeah. Yep. And keep our guys. Unfortunately, we've seen the money's taking some of those guys away already. All right. So let's jump into some of the stats for this one. We'll get into the guys individually, but before we do that, I want to go over the last 5 for each team. Georgia Southern comes in 3-2 in their last 5. Sam Houston State comes in 4-1 in their last 5. Neither team playing in their conference championship game, but both having great seasons, with Southern ending the year 8-4, while Sam Houston State ends the year 9-3. Georgia Southern scored 45 points. That was their high point total of the season. But guess what? That was in a loss, TJ. That was the first game of the season against. Do you remember who that was?
Boise State.
Yep. Ashton Genty and Boise State, the Maxwell Award winner. You can debate all you want over to the side whether he got snubbed for the Heisman or not. That was my pick, but because of the historic numbers, I'm not going to sit here and debate real hard that they weren't 1A and 1B instead of 1 and 2.
The only difference before we go, the only difference between Ashton Genty and Travis Hunter is that Ashton Genty is doing something we've seen before, right? We've seen somebody rush for 2,000 some odd yards. We've never seen anybody do what Travis Hunter is doing. And I know everybody wants to throw out, Charles Woodson and names like that. Charles Woodson didn't do it every single play. He didn't do it 120 plays a game.
True.
So that's the difference. Apart from that, I could get listen. Had it gone either way, I wouldn't have been mad about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm fine with either one of them winning it. However, I think the right person won it because I don't know that we'll ever see it again after that. Because 125, 120 plays a game is insanity. That makes no sense. My brain can't even fathom that. So I mean, and he only had 4 interceptions because they don't throw at him.
Yeah. And the other part is like you said, he's doing it at a college level. He's already said he's like to try this in the pros. Now, I don't think any pro GM or coach is going to allow him to play like that and that many times. But I mean, I don't see why anyone's going to say you can't if he's good enough to. Now, that's the question, right? This is a step up. So we'll have to see what happens there. The other thing, again, we'll keep going back to this game because we're getting off topic, but I love some of the stuff I'm hearing. Like, he used to take his girlfriend to parties and he would sit out in the car and hang out, not party with her, let her do all the partying, and then he would just drive her home. I'm like, dude, this guy's like so not what you would think some all-star football celebrity player would be. Like, he's just an average dude in the background who just wants to do what he wants to do, and it's just have fun and like relax. He's a video gamer and all kinds of stuff. It's like, it's hard not to root for somebody like that. And you saw that emotion in the ceremony too. That was really cool to see how he responded when he won it, all the people he was thanking and stuff. So yeah,
I'm with you. I agree. I do think though that, you know, he's kind of simping, going to taking his girlfriend to parties and not going to, I mean, that's, you know, I don't know that I would do that. However, apart from the rest of it, he's a wholesome guy. He's loves
exactly.
fish.
That was that's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah. I'm agreeing with you. I'm not doing that.
He's who you want your daughter to date if you had a daughter.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Seems like a really well-to-do kid and just phenomenal athlete and well-deserved. There's, again, you can debate all you want. Well-deserved. All right. So getting back to this, 45 points in that loss to Boise State. But their low point came with just 13 points. So they had some spots in some games where they had some low point totals. Sam Houston State scored a high point total of 41 at one point in the season. Their low point total came with just 9 points. But another interesting tidbit, that was a win. So Georgia Southern's high point total came in a loss. Sam Houston State's low point total came in a win.
Wow.
These things you just, like, we had that one weird stat last time. You know, they didn't play a common opponent, but they had the same exact score. Yeah, it's just, some of this stuff is just weird, man. Like, if you told me 45 and a loss, I would have said, what? And then if you told me 9 and a win, I also would have responded the same way. So just kind of weird metrics when you look at it that way. That's why I throw them in there. Some of that stuff can get interesting. They did not have any common opponents between the two teams at all this year. Southern averaged 28.1 points per game for. They allowed 27.3 against. So a real close margin there. A little bit better for Sam Houston State, but nothing that's going to blow you away. They averaged 23.2 points a game and allowed 20 points a game even. So not a huge disparity there. And then we do have to mention the fact that Sam Houston State is without their head coach that helped them get to this point, as Casey Keeler has now taken the job up at Temple University. And you kind of remember something about that guy, don't you, TJ?
Yeah, a little bit. We had some good playing days against that guy.
Yeah, a little luck.
A little bit.
Well, TJ, we did, before we went live, talked about how few players Georgia Southern actually has in the portal. Again, this is a little bit to say about keeping your head coach and keeping a team that did perform very well on the field. So they only have 3 in the portal. In fact, technically they only have 2 because now Dexter Williams has officially committed to Kennesaw State. So really they just have Isaac Walker, defensive lineman, and DeAndre Buchanan, a wide receiver. Luckily for them, they've still got most of their superstars on this roster. They've got J.C. French at the quarterback position, Jalen White at the running back position, and Derwin Burgess Jr. as a wide receiver. Who are you focusing on the most? I mean, I guess, what are we always going to say? The quarterback's the most important position. But
sure.
Who are you focusing on? Who you thinking might have a good game in this one against Sam Houston?
Yeah, I think so. So for me, it's how often can Georgia Southern get in the red zone? Because that's going to tell me the story about Jalen White getting into the end zone. Jalen White's got 12 touchdowns on the year and only 4.4 yards per carry. What that tells me is that 147 carries, a lot of them were in the red zone. So if we can get in the red zone, and by we, I mean Georgia Southern can get in the red zone early and often, we can kind of dictate how this game goes. They spread the ball out a lot. So you see Derwin Burgess, 53 receptions for 603 yards and only 3 touchdowns. That's because they have a couple different receivers that they get the ball to. There's another guy that has, I think, 400 and some receiving yards, and another that has about 400 or 500 yards. So they get their fair share of passing the ball around. So they spread the ball out a whole lot. But I think Jalen White, if we can get the ball into that red area a bunch of different times, we're going to see the Eagles control this game on the ground a whole lot.
Yeah, I think the wide receiver position was tough to pick one. I mean, Derwin Burgess Jr. is the leader in the clubhouse. That's why I went with him. Dominic Ambrose saying, "What's up, fellas? What's going on, Dominic? Nice to have you stopping by, man." Joseph Fansville is saying Sam Houston State wins this one. We've also got Tyler Hess joining saying here's Sam Houston for the win. Talk about a turnaround from last year. Yeah, absolutely. They definitely flipped the script. Casey Keeler made it look like he was too big of a stage for him with getting this team to jump to the D1 level, at the highest level of D1, I guess I should say. But obviously we know now that wasn't the case because he's turned it around and he's already on to another job. But yeah, quickly to touch on your point, Josh Dallas, 568 yards, 5 touchdowns, actually the leader in the clubhouse when it comes to touchdowns. And Dalen Cobb has 557 yards, 4 touchdowns. So those other 2 guys actually have more touchdowns than Burgess Jr. at this point. But he does lead in the yardage, and he does, I think, he also leads in receptions. So that's kind of why I put him there. He's going to be the guy they're going to go to more. But they have a 3-headed monster at the wideout position, and J.C. French can certainly sling it all over the place, as you can see, with 2,619 total yards. Even with a couple knockups where, the aforementioned Dexter Williams already took over his spot for a couple times. Now, I don't know. What do you think about that ratio? 16 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. It's not awful by any means, but is that maybe a little bit of a concern in a tight game?
Yeah, I do. I mean, propensity to throw the ball away is something that J.C. French has done in the past. And 7 interceptions, the 7 interceptions doesn't concern me as much as the 16 touchdowns do. Right? I mean, that means his touchdown interception ratio is almost 1-to-1, and that's not okay. So we've got some work to do in that department. But like I said, if we can get the ball in the red zone, we can maximize our ability to rush the ball and get those touchdowns on the ground.
Yep. Jason Marley saying Dallas is deep in the heart of Southern. Yeah, he's definitely a fan favorite. There isn't any doubt about that. All right, so jumping over to Sam Houston State, they have a ton of guys in the portal. I don't think I actually did a count on them, but they have a laundry list of gentlemen that are in the portal as of right now. Again, sometimes those guys end up playing these games. Sometimes they do not. Luckily for them, Hunter Watson, their leader at quarterback, is expected to play in this game. And we can see his touchdown to interception ratio is even worse than French's, actually. And he doesn't throw nearly as much or as many times. They did have a lot of success on the ground. But the problem is, if you're looking at the screen, you can see that that's not who's pictured here with the success, as he only had 11 carries for 33 yards with Zach Ryback?
Zach Herbeck.
Okay. Yeah, I knew I'd probably butcher it. But averages 3 yards a carry, so not, awful in that regard, especially when you only get 11 opportunities to do so. He actually was in the portal as well and removed his name because leader in the clubhouse, Jay Ducker, who had 7 touchdowns on the season, has entered the transfer portal. Their number 2 running back on the season was technically Hunter Watson at the quarterback position. That's one reason why you don't see him throw as much, because he had 623 yards on the ground, 7 touchdowns himself. So he is a true and tried dual threat quarterback that we're going to see a lot from tomorrow night But DJ McKinney is actually listed as a running back for their number 2 position, also entered the transfer portal. And so actually go down the list even further. The next guy down, a quarterback with more rushing yards, and then a wide receiver who had more rushing yards. You have to go down to like 9th on the list before you get down to Zach. Now, part of that does not have any indication to do with Zach's running ability. Again, I don't know how much, TJ, you feel you can judge anybody based on 11 attempts on a season.
No, there's nothing in you carrying the ball 11 times is going to show me.
Okay. I figured that was true, but I had to ask because I don't know. Stats don't lie, but that's not enough, I feel like, right?
Well, I'll tell you what, he'll get a shot.
Yeah, he'll definitely get his shot, and he's going to have to, prove it because, like I said, most of the guys that are on that list are gone. So he is really going to get his shot. He's going to see a whole lot more carries. In fact, he's going to see more carries in this game than he saw all season long. How about that? Let's put that out there into the.
That is probably true.
But they do have Noah Smith coming back at the wide receiver position, or coming back, staying with the program, I guess is what I really should say. Only 35 receptions for 285 yards, 0 touchdowns. And again, this is where your leader in the clubhouse is in the transfer portal. Simeon Evans had 474 yards. So still, you can see the disparity there. We talked about how many wide receivers for the Eagles had their yardage over 500, 3 of them. The top 3 easily over 500 yards. Their leader went for less than that, and he's not even on the roster for this bowl game at this point. So the second leading receiver also out of here. So you're down to Noah Smith, who's their 3rd leading receiver, who's going to be their number 1 go-to guy. So I don't know. Then you got to start looking at defensively. Let's just say this. Bryson Hayes, 4 sacks on the season, transfer portal. Trey Fields, number 1 linebacker, transfer portal. Let's see. Isaiah Cash, their number 1 safety, already committed to Ole Miss. So he's definitely not playing. Again, some of these guys could end up playing with their name in the portal, but
sure. But the Ole Miss guys definitely not.
Yeah, exactly. Chris Murray, the number 1 defensive lineman by stats, he's in the transfer portal. Caleb Weavers, another safety, transfer portal. So the secondary, the D-line is chewed up and spit out at this point. Now, again, I don't know, TJ, you've seen guys who've come in and proved themselves. So, I mean, it's either a coming out party or this game's not going to be too pretty. What do you think is going to happen here?
Listen, it's so hard to say. I mean, I know a lot of people are picking Sam Houston State. We have no idea how good their backups are. We have no clue, right? I mean, it's such a toss-up. Like the smart money is on Georgia Southern. But there's one of those things where, like I said, I mean, we had guys that came. Again, going back to my playing days at Appalachian State, I mean, our 3rd string running back could have been a starter somewhere. I mean, Robert Wilton was probably the most talented running back that we had. And he almost never saw the field. So, it's one of those things where it could be, like you said, a coming out party, or it could be just an absolute blowout and then Georgia Southern wins by 20. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, let's go back. I want to see what that line was. 4.5.
It's definitely not going to be 4.5.
Yeah, I'm taking that all day. I think Southern can put up points with the guys that they have.
100%.
I just also I feel like I am more comfortable taking a team that's been together and stayed together. They don't have all these question marks off the field. They haven't had a head coaching change. They're more consistent across the board. I have a hard time saying that Sam Houston State should be picked in this one. You look at the record, fine. But even when you look at the statistics, I don't know what you see that makes me think that Sam Houston State is comfortably going to win this. I'm not saying they couldn't, right? It's possible.
No, for sure. Yeah, it's certainly, like you said, I mean, it's going to come down to, can the guys that we don't know play football?
Right.
Can they play football? Right. And they can obviously play some level of football because they're there.
Yeah.
So can you do enough to let these guys shine and win football games? Or if not, it's going to be a runaway. I mean, there's no in between.
Right. You don't luck into 9-3, right? You still are a very good team to be 9-3. It's just a lot of those aspects of that 9-3 team are now gone. Again, defense is a big part of why teams win games. When that laundry list of guys I just read, that's not even all of them. That's just the ones that stand out the most when you look at statistics.
Sure.
So that's just hard for me to feel comfortable picking Sam Houston State to win that one. Terry Walker saying, "What's up, guys? How are you?" We are good, Terry. Thanks for joining us, man. I know you were on the boot the other night, having fun talking with those guys. So good to see you get the opportunity to go on there and talk some ball. Carlton saying portal difference definitely favors GSU. GSU wins. Hail Southern. And this is a good point. Changes my thinking, honestly. Yeah, I mean, this is why we do this. This is why we put the time and effort into figuring these things out. I don't know if people are going to take it to bet money on or not, but hey, maybe. We also did say that South Alabama would cover quite easily in their bowl game, and then that didn't happen. So,
well, also South Alabama has some people didn't play that we thought were going to play. So
that's also true. That is also true. Jason saying they need to load the box, and our corners have the best game of the season. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the statistics at the quarterback position, he's almost as much of a threat running as he is throwing, and he's no J.C. French in the arm talent. Maybe, I mean, it's hard for me to say talent. I guess I'm not going to dissect somebody's throwing ability that I haven't watched all season like French, but I would just side on the fact that pretty easily, just by looking at the statistics, tells you who's the more accurate thrower and can sling it around the yard a little bit more. And since we're in bowl season, I'll give everyone a pass and I'd say gotta y'all. So Randy Peacock saying that there in a return, a call and a return from Carlton to Randy with the gotta. So yeah, I favor Southern. I want to favor Southern in the first place. I know TJ probably feels a little different with his playing days, but now that we're trying to pump up this conference.
Look, I put it aside when it comes to conference play. When it comes to conference play, I put it aside.
Yeah, or non-conference play, you put it aside, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. Like when our conference versus someone else's.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm going to jump over to this next one, but hop right back on then, and we'll bring you right back.
I'm going to step away for about 30 seconds. I'll be right back.
All right. So while TJ steps away, we will bring up the next game that's going to pit Coastal Carolina 6-6 going up against UTSA, also 6-6. I can venture a guess that both of these fan bases very disappointed with how this season played out. I know UTSA expected to come in and compete for the American. They've been doing it, so they expected to continue doing it. I think 6-6 is quite shocking to them, where I would say Coastal Carolina's fan base probably wasn't shocked with the 6-6, but probably disappointed, especially with how this season started out. And so I'll just jump back over to their schedule real quick, because starting out, you thought they were challenging for the East Division title in the Sun Belt for sure. They go over to Jacksonville State, win that one comfortably. Then they get by William & Mary. Then they squeak by a surprising win over Temple, a close win over Temple. Then they get beat pretty soundly by Virginia, and then they just kind of fell apart after that throughout the rest of the season. They did get that victory at home over App State, a pretty raucous crowd there. That was the episode where TJ and I went out back and grilled some nice wings up, and enjoyed time out there in good old Wake Forest.
Oh yeah, that was a good night. We had some decent wings, so to speak.
Yes, decent is understatement. They were.
The cook doesn't like to compliment himself as much.
Well, I will, because I got to enjoy them, and I'm not much of a cook myself, so I got to give props to the people that know what the hell they're doing, because it is appreciated by the rest of us. Warren giving us a little score update. I don't know. TJ's got it on behind him. I turned the thing off because I don't like to run too many internet things when we're trying to do this and mess with my reception here. But Cal is apparently up on UNLV 3-0 in the first quarter. Thanks, Jason. You said we're doing a great job, and to keep up the good work, we will try to continue that. Yeah, Randy's saying he loved how Coastal season turned out. I have no doubts, Randy. You as a Coastal fan, you were just fine with it. Simulated Sports Project chiming in saying he still thinks Coastal wins this one. Well, we'll jump into that in just a minute because guess what? TJ, I didn't cover this part while you were out, but they are playing at home on the teal turf in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. So, I mean, that's got to favor the home team, right? But this one is weird. It's a Monday game at 11 a.m. Did you even like growing up playing football, would you ever have played a game at 11 a.m. in the morning?
So actually, yes, we played at 11 a.m. against LSU my freshman year. I think you were at that game, weren't you?
I was at that game. That's right.
Yeah.
I had almost forgotten.
Initially, it was 3:30.
Yep.
And
it was a night game.
Oh, that's right. It was a night game. Yeah,
that was
because it was at that point. It was national champion versus national champion. They had hyped it up to be this sort of, because I think it was 05, 04. No, it was 05 that LSU had just won the national championship.
No, that was, I don't know.
Because we played LSU twice. The first time we played them, they had to reschedule the game because of the hurricane.
That was like one of those late season SEC games. That first time you guys went up against them, right?
Right.
Okay.
It's actually on this little bulletin behind me.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So yeah, that one that was the one I was really excited about that I just never lived up to expectations because it was national champ of the FBS, national champ of the FCS going up against each other in the first game of the season. Never before happened. Night game in Tiger Stadium, and then the hurricane hits. Then they move it up to, like you said, 3:30. Then I think they moved it up to like 1. I think they moved it like twice. But you're right. In the end, it became an 11 a.m. start.
11 a.m. game, yep.
And it didn't help with the heat because it was still hot as hell. I remember I walked out of the hotel room and was immediately sweating anyway. So you won't have that.
We had pregame dinner at 6:30 in the morning.
Jeez.
It was insane. I mean, it was ridiculous. And they came on the field like they had been doing this their whole life. I was like, oh, okay, well, this should be fun.
Yeah. Totally disappointed in the I guess atmosphere. It was hard to say. I mean, people were told not to tailgate. People went out there and tailgated anyway. But LSU game was legendary. I did not have so much fun, but
for who?
Yeah. LSU game was 06. Yes, LSU won in 05. Oh, so you guys played back-to-back years. That part I didn't realize, I guess.
No, we played LSU 06.
Oh, he's saying I see what he's saying. He's saying LSU game was in 06, that first one, I guess, but they won the championship in 05. But they also won another championship then.
No, LSU won the championship in 2007 because we played them. No, I'm sorry. My senior year was 2008. So, they won it in 2007.
Yes, I was going to say because the whole tagline that I kept being told to my face the whole time was, "This ain't Michigan." So the whole game. Yeah, you're right. It was 07, and then it was going into the 08 season. Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Well, we'll get back to this game at hand. Warren says Coastal are the visitors, so do they use the visitors' locker room? Absolutely, they do. That is not their determining. That is not their call to make, I should say. Just like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, they can't just use their own locker room. They will actually be in the visitors' locker room if they are listed as the visitors.
That is insane.
Yep. So, hey, it pays to have a nice away team locker room if you're over there.
Yeah, absolutely. And a nice facility altogether.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, App State has their visitor locker room, as people have said, probably one of the best in the country because guess what? It used to be the home locker room before it moved. So they didn't take down any renovations. They just left it. So it's real nice.
Exactly.
Pre-game dinner is 6:30 a.m. That's called breakfast. Yeah, I think he's got a point there, DJ.
That is a fact, Dominic. Listen, we were barely awake. We were eating all kinds of carbs, like just toast and bagels and waffles. And I mean, listen, I will say this, the hospitality and the food, second to none. Second to absolutely none. I mean, outside of when we played, I think it was Eastern Kentucky, my freshman year. Outside of that, and I say Eastern Kentucky because, listen, as a black man, I love some fried chicken. And the chicken that they had at Eastern Kentucky was absolutely unmatched. I
Interesting.
mean, we honestly thought that the name Kentucky Fried Chicken was because it was from Kentucky. That's how good the chicken was. I'm not even dog. I am not joking. The chicken was so good, and I shouldn't even be doing this because I'm look very stereotypical having this conversation with you. But the chicken
I can
was
help with that because I love fried chicken too. So there we go.
it was it was phenomenal. It was the best chicken I've ever had. To date, it's the best chicken I've ever had. And that was at 19 years old, 18 years old.
So then I got a question on that then. Is this something that they like had at the hotel buffet, or is this something they brought in specifically?
Oh, no, it was at the hotel. It was at the hotel.
The hotel had some of the best chicken you've ever eaten.
In my life. In my to this date, outside of my aunt, that is the best fried chicken I've ever had.
Dang.
To date. It was incredibly crispy.
I thought maybe you were going to tell me that they had placed an order and brought it in specifically for the
who knows? Maybe. I just know it came out of the hotel kitchen. That's all I know. So it could have, for all I know, it could have been from anywhere. I just know where it came from. And it was, oh my God, it was phenomenal.
Well, maybe you need to go take a game at Eastern Kentucky sometime soon.
Yeah, we probably do. Was it Eastern Kentucky? Yeah, Eastern Kentucky. Yep. Yeah, first game of the season, August 15th.
Nice. See, it pays to have those things. You need to have one for every year you played.
I know. Well, I'm not even supposed to have that when I stole it after my freshman year. Nobody knew what I had.
Oh, there you
go. I guess now they know, but they didn't at the time.
Yeah. I'm not sure if any of the brass is still there. We'll have to see.
Yeah, probably not. And I'm sure they probably don't care.
Right. You've earned it at this point.
I would like to think so.
Yeah. Dominic's saying, better not vote against your aunt's chicken. That never goes well.
True story, Dominic.
Oh, well, speaking of things that go well, hopefully Coastal can get it righted in this game here because they did finish out their last 5 games just 2-3. UTSA not much better though. They just go 3-2 over their last 5. Coastal comes into this one with a high point total of throughout the season of 55 points. So that one came in their first game of the year against Jacksonville State, actually. They scored a low point total of just 6, so they had at least one sleeper of a game there. UTSA, high point total of 51 points. So both of these teams got over the half-century mark, so that's something to maybe look out for. The ability to score a lot of points in this one definitely exists and goes towards that 55.5 point total there maybe. But again, very similar. Low point total for UTSA, just 7 points. So 6 for Coastal, 7 for UTSA. The high for Coastal, 55. High for UTSA, 51. So kind of mirror images in that regard. Also mirrored images as far as opponents are concerned, just one. It was Temple, which is funny because we just mentioned that in the last game segment because of which coach just headed up there. Coastal played them early in the season, so this is where the difference is going to come in to some extent. Coastal played them early on, got by them 28-20 up there in Temple. UTSA played them much later in the season. I think if I still have that up, let me jump over to that and get which week of the season that was in. I think it was the second to last game. I think they finished the season against Army. They did finish the season against Army. They did play Temple the week before. That one was at home. Maybe comfortable confines were more friendly. They won that 51-27. So if you want to use that as a metric of where these two teams may sit against each other, again, early season versus late season, I'm not sure. I don't know. TJ, is that anything you guys even look at when you're like looking at what a team maybe offers when you've already played somebody that they've also played?
Yeah, I mean, nobody's who they are. You and I had this conversation. Nobody's who they are until they're about the 3rd or 4th game into the season. So we don't know. That said, though, it says a lot putting up 51 points against anybody. So
true. Yeah. Temple didn't have a great year. But yeah, like you said, 51 points up against them. Coastal only put up 28. Just a weird game. I remember seeing some of that just it just was one of those ones that just didn't make a lot of sense about what went on and why. Getting back to a couple more stats before we jump into the players in this one. Average points scored 4 for Coastal, 29.8. Here's the statistic they don't want to hear. Their average points against is actually higher at 30.6. So not great in that regard. For the Roadrunners over UTSA, average points for 32.3 against 30.9. So not a massive margin difference, but again, they score more points than they allow. Where at Coastal, it's real close, but it's technically flipped. It's the opposite there. Okay, Coastal Carolina has 2 guys in the portal for sure that are vitally important because starter Ethan Vasco throughout much of the season and another guy who started a little bit, Noah Kim, both entered the portal. I think Vasco is now real close to committing to maybe Liberty. At least that's where he's taken a visit to. Old coach Jamie Chadwell up there. They also have a new quarterback coming in from ETSU named John Hunt, who's already committed for 2025. But this game's interesting. Tad Houston, as you can see on the screen, it's not a mistake. 0 yards thrown, 0 touchdowns thrown, 0 interceptions thrown, which is probably the best statistics we'll read on any of these guys all night. But he's got a QBR of 0 because he literally did not see the field one time for Coastal Carolina, not even in like hey, go out there and do this gadget play and run the ball once. Nothing. Literally 0 plays on the field. Not saying he doesn't have talent. It's a transfer from North Carolina, so he was on that roster for a reason. He's on this roster for a reason. He's going to be able to, show him what he's got, right, TJ?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, like we just talked about it last game or last preview game. It's a coming out party or it's a absolute disaster. It's one or the other. You don't get to choose in this situation what's going on. We have zero idea at all of what we're getting out of this football team. So, or out of this quarterback anyway. So, but the one bright spot that they can lean on is their running game. Braden Bennett, 112 carries, 70. The biggest thing is 6.5 yards a carry, right? If I can give you the ball, and we talked about this last week, if I can give you the ball 3 times and I know that I'm going to get a first down, then why do I need to even care how often my quarterback throws the ball? Sure, we need to keep them, we need to stop from being one-dimensional and keep the defense honest. But if I can give my running back the ball and almost guarantee myself a first down, then the reality is I control the game. So Tad might have a easy job. Now, I say that their opponent is pretty darn good at football as well. So we'll have to see how this goes.
Yeah, definitely going to be a little interesting there. Jamison Tucker leads the Chants with 31 receptions, 540 yards, 6 touchdowns. That average is pretty good. Not as good as Willie McCoy over there on the other side, but pretty good. 17.4 yards per catch. You remember what yours was off the top of your head?
I do not. That's the one thing. That's the one thing I don't remember is what my average per catch was.
Okay, no problem. Just thought it'd be interesting to kind of compare and see what.
Well, and I don't know that mine is going to be. I would have kind of 2 different stats because I ran the ball a lot too.
True, good point. And you had those punt stats. You got to put Isle on there too. Average punt.
all 6 of my punts.
Yeah, is that how many? You remember exactly how many you did?
Yeah, it was 6 punts.
Nice.
Yeah, it was 3 my junior year and 3 my senior year.
Jeez, that's okay. For a guy who's not listed as a punter, I would assume that's a lot, right? I mean, nobody else is punting anywhere near that besides a punter himself.
Yeah, I don't think so. No.
Okay.
And our punter at that time now is still with the Buffalo Bills. Sam. Jesus Christ, Sam.
Oh, oh God, I'm going blank now too. I can see his face.
Sam Martin. Jesus.
There you go. Yeah. There you go.
Cal just scored a touchdown.
Okay. Someone Rumble fan is saying he didn't know much about A-State until recently on the wiki page. Only heard about them this year. Losing season. I think they had a winning season. Well, they're 500. But yeah, they do have a pretty epic history. So
State is in Arizona State or App State or
I think he
Arkansas
means
State?
Arkansas State. Yeah,
Okay.
That's commonly referred to there as A State.
Okay.
Just to differentiate between all the ASUs, because I think, for a long time, all these different places went by ASU, and it was like, well, which one do you mean? And so now, like, App is App. And I guess ASU is Arizona State, and I don't know what Alabama State goes at, but I guess they could have been ASU as well. So,
yeah.
in fact, I think their logo literally lists ASU.
I think I was going to say their logo is ASU, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. So they may say that. We'll have to see. Yeah, a former high-ranking FBI person. He did attend App State, so that is not some random thing. He actually went to school at App, and pretty high honor to have somebody like that that went to school at App now being so high up in the FBI. If you're in favor of that program, there's people that question stuff. We won't get into the politics of it all here, but we do have to mention, we've talked about the offense, talk about who sticks out on defense. Well, unfortunately, a lot of those guys are in the portal. So that's what we just talked about in the last game with you got to question the secondary and the D-line. You got to kind of do the exact same thing here with Coastal, plus the quarterback position. So you've got a lot of important pieces and players now missing. A lot of guys are going to have to step up, prove themselves, and help the Shots get a victory at literal home game. Matthew McDoom, one of the coolest names in all of NCAA football, is in the portal. And as far as this is concerned, has already 110% committed to Cincinnati Bearcats. So he is gone. Clev Lubin, who's edge rusher, you've seen him, you've heard his name throughout the season, committed to Auburn. So this is the type of talent that Coastal was dealing with will not be on the field this Monday when they play UTSA. So a big drop off, a big concern, and that's not to disparage the guys behind them, but when you're talking about guys who have transferred to now power programs out of your program, that's going to be a drop. You usually don't have 2 and 3 of those guys sitting there on your roster, right? So those areas are certainly of concern. A couple cornerbacks also in the portal. So again, the secondary also hit just as hard as those guys up front. All right, so jumping over to the UTSA side, you will see a last name that you should know fairly well if you've been an NFL fan for any length of time, right, TJ?
Yes, sir. Josh McCown's little brother.
Yep, and he's the nephew of one of the other guys who played in the NFL. It was there 2 McCown brothers who played in the NFL, right?
I don't know. I know Josh McCown played a while in the NFL.
I thought there was 2 of them. One of them may not have played as much, but maybe you could look that up. I'll bring over the portal aspect for these UTSA Roadrunners in this one, if I can find out. Yeah, they're there because they have a good amount of guys in the portal as well. But in fact, they just stole. What was it?
Luke McCown.
Luke McCown, that's it. Okay. So, yeah, there was 2 McCowns. Now you've got this guy. And look at the yardage. 3,170 yards, 24 touchdowns thrown, just 9 interceptions. If you're throwing the ball that much, I'd take 9 interceptions if you're going to throw me 24 touchdowns, right? QBR, again, stat that is kind of wonky in some spots, but 61.1 overall there. You've got Robert Henry, who carried the ball for 130 times, 706 yards. Again, I'm probably right on par there with what Braden Bennett can bring to the field. But Bennett seems to be a guy who can probably break open a little bit better with that average carry being a little higher.
Yeah. Listen, anything over 5 yards per carry is enough for me. If I can give you the ball 3 times to get a first down, I'm with it.
Yeah. Good point. So he's a little behind on the stream on Rumble, so that's why he had that thing about the A-State thing. But, yeah, jumping back into it, Willie McCoy, 28 receptions, 536 yards, 4 touchdowns, 19.1 average. That's got to be impressive, almost 20 yards per catch.
For sure.
Yeah, there's a couple guys in the portal here running back Kevion Barnes was, I believe, their leading rusher. Let me jump back from their schedule back over to their statistics here. As wanted to double check that. No, Robert Henry was their leading rusher. That's right. Barnes was actually down there a little bit, but they had a lot of guys. Henry had the most carries. He had 130, like I said. But we had 3 other guys that were hovering right around 80 carries each. So run heavy or spread out through the run, I guess I should say, because we know, as we can see, McCown's throwing the ball all over the place as well. As far as the leading wide receiver, Willie McCoy, this is your guy. There is no guy in the portal that, had more receptions or yardage for this team. There was a guy named Devin McCune as a wide receiver who did have 5 total touchdowns. So again, not a crazy mark to compare him to McCoy, but did have a lot less yardage. So probably somebody that you might see get the ball thrown their way a little bit more towards the red zone. Is that kind of what that's telling us there, TJ?
That's what it's looking like. I mean, you've got a guy who can kind of looks like stretch out and go get it. So we'll see how this plays out. But red zone targets are going to be key in this game.
Yeah, they've also got a tight end to watch out for in Houston Thomas, who had 3 touchdown receptions, getting up there. He was a third total in yardage per catch, 13.8. Actually, he was second. Well, I don't know. If you go with the minimum number of receptions, it probably should be second because there's a guy who had more, but he only had 10 catches on the season, I think. So, yeah, again, red zone target sounds like for the Roadrunners here. Defensively, I think they have most of their guys back. Let me just run through this one. I didn't write down as much. Besides the edge rusher, Ronald Triplett, I think defensively they're coming back pretty strong. They really aren't missing anything. He's not even really one of their top tacklers. So that's probably the difference in this one, if you're asking me, right? I think a defense that took a big hit in Coastal Carolina versus a defense that's coming in probably as strong as they've been all season, really, for the most part. I don't know. What are your thoughts on who you're favoring in this one? Let's go jump back to that spread and everything in this too.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, UTSA -9. Unfortunately, I'd probably be leaning that way just because UTSA has got guys that have played that are coming back. Neither team has impressed me all year in terms of what they've done from a season total average. That said, though, if I had to favor anybody in this game, UTSA seems to have most of their team coming back, whereas Coastal, much like we talked about last game or last preview game, is riddled with transfer portal guys. So I think this could be one of those things where we see some guys either step up or we see some big differences in terms of what the skill level brings. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think I side with you. I mean, if I'm going to favor anything, I'll probably say the UTSA. I don't know about the 9. I don't know. That's tough. I don't think they're hitting the 55.5.
No, I don't think that. Well, here's it. The 55.5 for me, this is what it. So for me, it looks like obviously they depended on Coastal having guys come back and play to be able to meet them at that kind of 27.5 point total mark.
Yeah. Because
that's not happening, my question to you is, could UTSA cover what Coastal couldn't cover? And in other words, could this be a blowout?
Man, I want to hope and say no because they're playing there at home. Let me pull up their home schedule and see how they fared. If they gave up any really bad games at home. So obviously that one loss, actually their first loss of the year against Virginia was pretty bad. It was 43-24. Which obviously hits that 55.5 point total if that was a score. In this one, I don't think UTSA is coming in nearly as strong as the Virginia team that was surprisingly good this year. They allowed Louisiana to score 34 on them at home. App State scored 24 on them at home.
And keep in mind now, these are against starters.
True. Yep. I mean, so then they had a game against Georgia Southern at home. I remember this one. This was the weirdest one. Not the weirdest, but they lose 26-6 to Georgia Southern at home. That was their last home game of the year. They rebounded well on the road. They went into Atlanta and won 48-27 over Georgia State to follow that up. So it's kind of a tale of two teams, but I think that's kind of what you see with two teams that are also 6-6, right? Like you had some good games where you output what you expected and what you hoped for maybe. And then you had some total duds. Again, both teams scored well over 50 once or twice or a few times this year, and both teams had times where they barely put up a touchdown in a game. So I don't know. I would say, if anything, I'm staying away from this one completely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly staying away from the 55.5 points. That's for sure. Yeah. But UTSA by 9, I think that's a comfortable spread. I think UTSA covers that.
I think if I had to favor one thing, that I probably would do that. Offense that can be electric. I don't know if we're going to see that with Coastal with quarterbacks, with the quarterback play being a big question mark.
I can almost guarantee you we won't.
Yeah. Keep it simple, right? I mean, it's going to be a lot of run plays, a lot of play action, so you just give him an option maybe. Is that what you think you would see?
Yeah, for sure.
Warren giving us an update. 14-10 now, UNLV over Cal. Is it Cal, right? That's who they're playing?
Yep, I've got it on here right on on one of my 3 screens that I have in front of me.
There you go. That's how you have to do it now. But yeah, I mean, I guess that one's going to kind of wrap up the previews there. So I guess if you have to favor one non-Sun Belt team so far this season, in the bowl season, I guess I should say anyway, it might be UTSA. But I don't think that's a bad thing. UTSA has had a pedigree over these last couple of years. If you told me before the season Coastal would get to a bowl game against UTSA and they wouldn't be favored, I'd been like, okay, yeah, that's probably realistic.
That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. They'll get a shot at a team that they shouldn't beat. Now, obviously, with how it's gone, you want to say, maybe they should go in because they're now playing at home, which was something that, some people are excited about as Coastal fans I've seen. They don't really have to travel, probably get a lot bigger stadium fill. They would, I will hope that they have the most amount of people at any bowl game for the Sun Belt so far this year.
I would say that would be a safe guess. That said, though, it might be some pretty butthurt fans because a lot of the guys, I mean, if anybody, the only thing that I fear about this being a home game for them is that there's people there that are going to look at what we just talked about, the lack of players playing, and say this isn't going to be worth watching.
True. I mean, they talked about the college football playoff being on campuses where students are already away. Well, I think Texas has assured that they've filled all their student section tickets. They have come back for that type of game. That's obvious. That's pretty easy to understand and everything. That's the question mark you have to have with this, right? Are Coastal kids coming back? Maybe if they're a couple hours away and there's reasonable driving distance, sure. I don't know if the ones that are, in the Northeast are going to come all the way back down for a game at 11 a.m. kickoff on a Monday. So yeah, I'm with you. Are people saying, is it worth it for me? Our star quarterback's not playing.
That's the question. I mean, we were 3-time national champions, and we had trouble sometimes filling the student section in Boone.
Right. Well, that was always because your first round game was freaking Thanksgiving weekend. But
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, though. You're right. I mean, the students are away. They'd have to travel back.
It's Christmas. Yeah.
And dorm rooms were typically closed. They weren't even open for kids to come back and stay in their own place.
So where are they going to stay? I mean, and kids are broke.
Yeah. So, and that could be the situation at Coastal, right? You can't come and stay in your place. Maybe they can. I don't know how they roll that. I have
no idea.
Something I never had to take a part in, so I don't know. Jason says Southern's defense also had their best game of the season by far against Coastal. So that's another reason there. I think that UTSA could do the same thing, to be quite honest, if their defense comes in rolling along like they have in a couple games so far this year. Troy beat UTSA in the Cure Bowl 2 years ago. That was a great matchup too, actually. That won 2 years ago. So I don't know, man. Football on the TV. We just recapped and re-previewed. That's a word. Re-previewed, yeah. We recapped and previewed some Sun Belt bowl games, and we will bring you more. And unless you're going to do some satellite from a vacation destination next week, we'll see you after the holiday, right?
That is a safe bet. I'll be out of pocket next week, but I'm sure you'll find somebody to hold it down in my absence, and I appreciate them in advance.
We do as well, and we look forward to bringing it to you guys. Any last thoughts before you want to wish a Merry Christmas to these people or something?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thank you guys for watching and tuning in. We're getting to that happy time of the year where it's bowl season all the way around. So we've got some games that we got to preview, and we'll trust me, Dom and I will be on it. And even though I'm not necessarily in front of the screen, he and I will be communicating, and he will know my thoughts on these games, and I will be tuned into the show, and I will be chiming in with my responses to said show. So we'll see how it goes.
Nice. I echo his thoughts for anybody who won't be listening to us before Christmas. I guess I'm trying to think if we'll have anything more before Christmas or not. Maybe a basketball show too. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys for tuning in and chiming in along with us this evening as we continue to preview some bowls. And thank you to the Simulated Sports Project for following along as well. And Dominic for saying bowl season and draft season. That's right. You got to get ready for all. We'll definitely be doing another draft special this year because that was a lot of fun last year to see who maybe going to the next level. So be prepared for some more stuff to come along the way. Even once football season's done, we won't be completely out of your life. We'll still be rolling through a couple episodes here and there to just keep it fun and keep us all in front of you along the way. So thank you very much for listening, and we will see you guys next time.